Have you ever wondered how the Old Testament relates to the New Testament? Some people accept the Old Testament but reject the New Testament. Others claim Jesus was only a man, a sorcerer, or that the New Testament is a false writing. But what does the Bible actually say? The Old Testament and New Testament are not separate stories. They are one unified story of God's plan to save humanity. The Old Testament contains promises and prophecies about a coming Messiah, while the New Testament reveals their fulfillment in Jesus Christ. For example, Micah 5:2 foretold that the Messiah would be born in Bethlehem. Jesus was born in Bethlehem. Isaiah 53 describes a servant who would suffer and die for the sins of others. Jesus was crucified for the sins of the world. Psalm 22 describes details of suffering that closely resemble Jesus' crucifixion centuries before it happened. Some people claim Jesus was a sorcerer because he healed the sick and raised Lazarus from the dead. Yet the Old Testament records God performing similar miracles through prophets like Elijah and Elisha. If raising the dead was God's work in the Old Testament, why would it suddenly become sorcery when Jesus did it? Even Jesus' opponents made this accusation, and he answered them in Matthew 12 by showing that his power came from God, not evil. Others ask, how do we know these prophecies weren't about King David? Because David did not fulfill them. David did not die for the sins of the world, nor did he rise from the dead. In Acts 2:29-31, Peter explains that David was speaking prophetically about the coming Messiah. God also promised David that one of his descendants would establish an eternal kingdom. Jesus, a descendant of David, fulfilled that promise. Unlike David's earthly kingdom, Christ's kingdom is everlasting. Jesus was Jewish. His apostles were Jewish. The earliest believers were Jewish. They testified that Jesus died, was buried, and rose again. The Old Testament is the promise. The New Testament is the fulfillment. Together, they point to one person, Jesus Christ, the promised Messiah, the Son of God, and the Savior of the world.